of the Rabbinic Council of Israel, הרב אליעזר וייס, חבר המועצה, חבר הרבנות. ובעוד דקות אחדות יצטרף אלינו גם ראש העיר עינת קליש. ברשותכם, I would like to start, if it's okay with you. You are, sir, Mansour Abbas, you are a political leader in Israel, but you're also a religious leader. You are a religious man. I know that because what would you say about the path that you have to take sometimes when you have your religious principles, but you know that you have to promote them through the political rules here in Israel? Sir, that was close. We have translation equipment, so the ones who we will already have translation from Hebrew to English or to Arabic. لحظة شوي. بالعربي بالانجليزي او بالعربي؟
מה שלומך?
לא שומעים את השידור.
אף אחד לא שומע? לא? לא. שנייה.
Now we can also invite Mayor Einat Kalish. Please welcome Mayor Einat Kalish. Good evening. Thank you very much for being with us. Now we can officially begin the first panel. Okay. I can see still that there are people with no translation equipment. So let's wait for the translation devices over there.
Okay.
Guys, if you want to raise the volume, just press on the middle of above the.
אפשר להגביר את הווליום. You can raise the volume on your devices. אוקיי. אז שאלנו עד כמה אתה מודע, חבר הכנסת מנסור עבאס, לצורך שלך כשאתה צריך לקדם, כשאתה יודע שאתה רוצה לקדם את האג'נדה הדתית שאתה מאמין בה, אתה גם צריך ללכת על פי הכללים הפוליטיים, על פי החוקים הפוליטיים.
שלום לכולם, אני מברך את היוזמים של הכינוס הזה וכמובן את באוניברסיטת חיפה, שזו פעם ראשונה שאני מתארח אצלהם ומעריך מאוד את היוזמות שהם מתקרבים וכמובן ברכה את האורחים המשתתפים ואת הנושא החשוב שאני בו היום. אני יכול לדבר שותף בעצם לשאלתך ערן, בעצם זאת היא השאלה שמעסיקה אותי לא יום יום אלא שעה שעה, כי ברגע שהחלטתי להתמודד לכנסת או להיכנס לחיים הפוליטיים במדינת ישראל. גם קיבלתי החלטה שאני לא מוותר על הדתיות שלי ולא על הערכים והאמונה שלי. דווקא להפך, מאז שנכנסתי לכנסת, זה 4 שנים, הדתיות שלי, הקשר שלי לדת האסלאם היא דתית חזקה יותר. והאמונה חזקה יותר, והערכים שאני מאמין בהם משרתים אותי יום יום בעשייה הפוליטית. למעשה העשייה הפוליטית היא תרגום של מה שאתה מאמין בו, ולכן זה מסביר את מה שאמרתי, שהדתיות שלי מתחזקת מיום ליום מאז שנכנסתי לחיים הפוליטיים, ואני רואה את עצמי מגשים את הערכים, את האמונה שלשמה בחרתי להיות דתי וגם בחרתי להיות איש ציבור שבא לשרת את התכלית של הדת בעיניי. הדת היא 2 חלקים מרכזיים והשאר הטקסים, אמונה, האל, וערכים ומוסר. ושניהם מתחברים ביחד כדי לעשות חיים יותר טובים של כל האנושות. זאת תפיסת העולם שלי, שהאנושות כולה היא משפחה אחת. והמהות של השוני שאנחנו רואים היום זה מין אתגר שאנחנו עומדים בפניו כבני אנוש, כדי שבסופו של דבר נכיר אחד את השני. בעצם זה התרגום של הפסוק הכי מפורסם בקוראן ביחס לנושא הזה. או בני אדם, אנחנו בראנו אתכם מאיש ואישה ועשינו אתכם שבטים ועמים כדי שתכירו אחד את השני. זה מצד אחד. מצד שני, התכלית של האסלאם בעיניי זה להביא רחמים לאנושות כולה. ומה ארסלנאק אלא רחמתן ללעלמין. אלוהים מגדיר לנביא מוחמד מה התכלית של השליחות שלו. הוא אומר לו, אני שלחתי אותך כרחמים לכל העולמים. זה לא אומר למוסלמים עצמם, הם קבוצה באנושות ואפילו מעבר לאנושות, כי העולמים הם מגדירה עולם בני האדם ועולם הצומח ובעלי החיים והיחס שלנו בכלל לסביבה. אבל זה אנחנו מרחיבים את הפירוש, ולכן הערכים האלו הם שמנחים אותי, ולכן ישרות מאז שנכנסתי לכנסת חיפשתי הידברות, שותפות, וגיבשתי את הגישה שלי תחת הכותרת של שותפות פוליטית, שותפות אזרחית ערכית.
אבל האם אדוני זה נעשה בהתאם לתפיסה הדתית שלך כמנהיג דתי?
לא הייתי עושה דבר אחד אם הוא היה מנוגד לתפיסה הדתית שלי. אמנם יש אנשים שחולקים עליי, ויכול להיות שחושבים שמנסור הוא חצה את הקווים האדומים של הדת. אבל אוקיי, זאת זכותם לחשוב מה שהם חושבים, אני חושב שהם טועים. אבל אני כמנסור, כאשר אני מקבל החלטה מסוימת, אני מקבל אותה מתוך שלמות עם עצמי, עם האמונה ועם הערכים שגדלתי עליהם, וככה אני מבין את האסלאם שבו אני מאמין. ולכן אני לא מרגיש שיש מתח בין הדתיות שלי לפעילות הפוליטית וליוזמות ולגישה הפוליטית שמשלבת את הממד האזרחי עם הממד הערכי שנשאר מתפיסת המוסר לפי הדת שאני מאמין בה, ולדעתי זו תפיסת מוסר משותפת לכל הדתות.
תודה. אני רוצה להפנות את השאלה הבאה לרב אליעזר וייס. אדוני, in English, sir, I would like to ask you, as a political leader in the Jewish community, where can you, Jewish leaders, can be effective when it comes to education, welfare, when it comes to the divided society, when we talk about the Jewish community and the Jewish society today? What is, in your opinion, your most important role as religious leader.
Thank you, and thank you to Dr. Samuelson and all the distinguished people here. Welcome, distinguished panel. You said as a political leader, I don't have the privilege of being a political leader. But I hope I'm a religious leader, and I agree.
Thank you for the correction.
I don't know. I agree with everything that Dr. Mansour said. I mean, we have to sing Arachim to express. The question is, as you say, the question is how we can bring these high ideals down to earth.
How and where, sir?
How and where? Okay, let me tell you a story from the Bible that everybody knows. Everybody knows the story of Cain and Abel and Hevel. Cain and Abel, the first two brothers who didn't get on with each other. And we told you, we all know that Cain in the end killed Abel. And that's the story. And we have a verse in the Torah which says, Vayomer Cain el Hevel. Cain spoke to Hevel, Vayibi yotam abasadeh. And when they were in the field, Vayakom el Hevel achiv v'yamir. When they were in the field, he went and killed Hevel. Now, many say there's something missing in the whole verse, that our Masoretic text is incorrect. It says, Vayomer Cain el Hevel achiv, and then nothing. What did he say? Ma'u, what did he say? Vayibi yotam abasadeh. It doesn't say. But those who say that something missing are wrong. What the Bible is telling us, the Torah is telling us, that they didn't speak to each other. They didn't say anything. He said, but there was nothing to be said. They didn't connect with each other. And therefore the next stage was that the one killed the other. When there was jealousy, when there is jealousy, in a situation as there is today, when there was jealousy between two brothers, and I think we're all brothers, we're all created in the image of God, and Muslims and Christians and Jews, we're all basically brothers. When we are brothers, so what happened? Let us look at the story. Cain was the first person to bring sacrifice to God. And Abel, saw that Cain's sacrifice wasn't accepted, so he improved himself. He did a better sacrifice. He brought a brother sacrifice. That's one way of facing jealousy. To improve yourself. To try and find fault with yourself and not with the other. Hevel realized that I have to improve myself in order to be accepted by God. There's another way. That Cain didn't think he had to improve himself. He went and killed Abel. Cain killed Abel. So the point is, when we're in a situation as we are, where there are challenges, where there's jealousy or misunderstanding between two brothers, there are those who will try, instead of putting the other one down, improving himself. And there are others, unfortunately, will see the only solution to the problem is to kill the person who is perhaps better or different or is exploring something. That's the nutshell of the problem today. How do we face the problems that we do have? Now, I was brought up in England, and in England, there isn't such a exacerbated religious problem as here, but there are problems. And in every town, we had a council of Christians and Jews. And in the council of Christians and Jews, the Jewish leaders and the Christian leaders, whether they liked each other or not, they would get together and sit down and speak to each other. And this is what's lacking in our country. In this country here, we heard the religious leaders in the time of a crisis got together, but there should be a regular meeting of the Christians, Muslims, and Jews in this country monthly. And it should be seen, and people should see, and everybody should learn from each other. And we should do things together, because there is a tremendous amount of problems that we all have in common, and as religious leaders, we can help resolve, whether it's drugs, whether it's Jewish, whether it's whatever it is, there are things that we all have in common. And yeah, I'm sorry.
So, Rabbi, at this specific point, I would like to ask Mayor Einat Kalish, when it comes to your position. There's a variety of religious communities inside Haifa. What do you do, and what would you like to do more, or what do you think you do more, in order to tighten the relations or the cooperation between you as a mayor and the leaders of the religious community in Haifa?
English or? Yes. Thank you first for inviting me to this very important event. We need to, I agree totally, we need to speak to each other, but not, but on a daily basis, on the everyday. We need to make sure that we know how to live on the everyday. And once this happens, we can surely connect and speak to each other on special events, whether they're crises or holidays or happy events, sad events. And this is what I try to do. I think, and I said that before, we are many communities, and by the way, it's true that in Israel, the ability to speak is problematic, is different, but I think in Haifa we do that on a regular basis. More and more, it's much more natural for all of us.
Can you share with us your experience with religious leaders in Haifa?
Yes, I will in a minute. I will give some examples, but I would like to say that the first thing I realized is that we need every community, and we have many communities, we need to make sure that everybody has what he or she needs. We need to diminish the gaps. We need to close the gaps. Everybody should be happy with his or her own life. We don't need the same things, and we should not think or try to impose ourselves that everybody should get the same thing. No, everybody needs something different. So we need to diminish the gaps. And once this happens, we can start connecting. I think one of the examples of the religious leadership in Haifa happened on the events of May 2021. But also during the COVID-19 events, we needed all the leaders in the city to help us communicate the events and the reality to our communities. Of course, we all have different abilities to communicate to our communities. And we discovered that the religious leaders are a model for all of us, because everybody looks up for them. Everybody appreciates what they say and what they think, and they were enormous. They had an enormous role in these events. So, in my opinion, the ability to speak to each other is on the daily basis, on the everyday, on the small problems we have with taxes, arona, parking issues, whatever, on holidays, on celebrations together, but also on, and then we can speak on crises. And this happens in Haifa. This is, in my opinion, quite a miracle.
Thank you. Mayor Kalish has just mentioned the 2021 events, violent events, May events in Israel. And I would like to ask you, Mansour Abbas, I think we can all recall the picture of you coming to visit the synagogue that was burned during the events in the city of Lod. And this is where you actually you exercise your role as a religious leader when it comes to relations between Jews and non-Jews, or between Jews and Muslims. But sir, it seems to me that you have another role as a religious leader when it comes to the violence within the Arab society today? What is your most significant role as a religious leader when it comes to what we see on a daily basis, the violence inside the Arab public here in Israel?
אני חושב שהתפקיד העיקרי, הבעיה של פשיעה ואלימות בחברה הערבית היא מאוד מורכבת, ולכן אנחנו צריכים המון תפקידים לאנשים שיתפקדו בתחומים שונים, לא רק בתחום הדתי, חברתי, חינוכי ופוליטי כמובן. אבל אני חושב שהתפקיד המיוחד שאני עושה בהקשר הזה זה הניסיון להגביר את הביקורת העצמית בתוך החברה הערבית ולא להסתפק בעמדה דוגמטית או קלאסית להגשים את האחר. יש טענה תמיד שהפשיעה והאלימות היא תוצאה של מדיניות, של כישלון במתן שירותים לחברה הערבית וכו'. אני לא מפתיע אתכם להגיד לכם שממשלת ישראל הודתה שהיא נכשלה בהתמודדות עם הצרכים של החברה הערבית בהחלטה 852 בממשלתו של נתניהו לפני האחרונה. עכשיו, בצד שני לא מספיק להגיד שהממשלה מכירה באחריות או המדינה או מה שלא תראו. האם אנחנו כחברה ערבית יש לנו ביקורת עצמית ואנחנו יכולים להצביע איפה נכשלנו בנושא הזה? זה בעצם, אני לקחתי על עצמי את התפקיד הזה להגיד את הדברים ישירות לאנשים, אפילו בצורה כואבת, ואני חושב בערן וחברים שזאת נקודה מאוד חשובה ובסיסית, מעבר לתפקיד של לנסות לפייס ולקדם פתרונות של רווחה וחינוך ועבודת משטרה וכו'. בלי ביקורת עצמית, בלי התבוננות פנימית, ולהודות איפה טעינו ואיפה אנחנו צריכים לתקן, אנחנו לא נצליח להתגבר על התופעה הזאת.
אני רוצה, אדוני, לנצל את העובדה שאתה מנהיג מוסלמי, מעבר להיותך פוליטיקאי ערבי, מנהיג מוסלמי מוכר בחברה הערבית-מוסלמית. What is your role as a Muslim leader when it comes to the violence? What can you do? What are the principles, what are the religious principles, sir, that you are saying to your people, this is what you do as Muslim to put an end to this bloodshed?
Okay. את הדבר הראשון, שוב, אמרתי, אבל אתה מנסה להוביל אותי לצעדים בדת. לא, ביקורת עצמית זה לא פוליטיקה. דבר בסיסי בדת, שכל איש דתי, כל יום בבוקר הוא אמור לעמוד מול המראה ולשאול את עצמו איפה טעיתי ובמה אני צריך עכשיו לחזור בתשובה. זה הנקודה הבסיסית שממנה אנחנו מתרגמים אותה לשפה יותר מודרנית של ביקורת עצמית, אבל זה חלק מהתפיסה הדתית והאמונתית. אבל ערך החיים בתפיסה הדתית, לצערי, יש עיוות משמעותי בחלק מתפיסות העולם הבסיסיות של היחס לערך החיים, היחס לזולת, היכולת שלך לבוא ולבנות את סולם הערכים מחדש ולהציב את הערך העליון של קדושת החיים, של הסובלנות ושל הנכונות לסבול גם את האחר, אם הוא תוקף, אם הוא מעליל עלילות, אם הוא פוגע בך. אלו הערכים הבסיסיים שהחינוך הדתי צריך לטפל בהם. לא רק לנסות לחזק את הקשר עם האלוהים. זה מישור אחד, הוא לא יתחזק בלי שאתה מחזק את הקשר שלך עם בני אנוש, של האחים שלך, בדת, בחברה, ביישוב וכו'. ולכן אנשי הדת חייבים לנסות ולתעדף את סולם הערכים שלפיו הם פועלים והם משרתים. קדושת החיים הוא נושא שאנחנו לא שמים אליו לב, ולכן אני מודה שבחברה המוסלמית במיוחד התופעה של פשיעה ואלימות גואה, ובינתיים אנחנו נותנים מענה מספיק. כמובן, צעדים, אנשי דת עושים מאמץ רב לפייס. הם גם נכנסים לתוך המשפחות ומנסים להתמודד עם אתגרים מעבר ליכולתם. וגם בתוך המשפחה הגרעינית בין האיש ואשתו וכו'. הם עושים תפקיד כזה, אבל זה לא מספיק עובדה. המבחן הוא מבחן התוצאה.
Thank you. Rabbi Eliezer Weiss, I would like to ask you, sir, do you see places in which you say, I cannot interfere, I know that I don't have enough power to change this reality? Let's say, for example, when it comes to interreligious cooperation, do you sometimes see events or places where you say, I can't help here as a religious leader? Does it happen sometimes?
I don't know how to answer your question. I go to I'm always prepared and always willing to go to any and every interreligious meeting. I was rabbi in חיפה, לפני בקר ג'רביה, and I always used to go if anything happened in between Jews and Arabs. There were times when we lived together very, very, very well. Used to be on speaking terms and visiting terms. It's slightly changed. I've been to visit mosques that when some violent children or young people, city people throw stones, etc. And no, I don't think so. Obviously, we don't have the power, or we're not important enough or persuasive enough to be able to solve the problem. But I do believe the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef, said at the meeting in London, I was with him, that at any time, that any of the non-Jewish or churches or mosques are attacked or anything, he's personally prepared to come and to protest against it. What I can assure you, if I would sit with Dr. Martin Tabas as a religious leader, we'd solve Mansour, we'd solve all the problems. There's something that interferes between them. As though I do my best. Everybody does his best, but the best is not good enough. In Ireland, the religious leaders were the politicians rather than vice versa. And I think that helped to bring about the hundreds of years of the conflict. Religious leaders must be more involved in the peace process.
Sir, you are talking about peace between religions.
Yes.
I was asking Mansour Abbas about peace within the Arab society. I would like to ask you a question about peace inside the Jewish society, the Jewish community, between religious and non-religious Jews. We are also facing a very problematic time, aren't we?
Most very, very, very problematic, very difficult, and I wish I could bridge the gap. We don't speak to each other.
What do you suggest?
We don't speak to each other either. Not only we don't speak to the other religions, we don't speak to each other. So there's a great divide, and it's a very tragic.
What's your explanation, sir? What do you see? What is your insight when it comes to this turmoil right now inside the Jewish community, the Jewish society in Israel?
I don't think it's. I think a lot of it is religion. But you have to realize, we have to realize that nowadays people aren't religious. Many people are not practicing much. I think most people are believers, but not necessarily.
Traditional, they call themselves, right? Traditional. Masortim.
זה מלשון מסור, מה שאתה לא רוצה, אתה הוריד. נכון?
I cannot answer that.
But I wish people would be traditional. I think they are. You know, sometimes the political situation exacerbates things. And you know, things which nothing really to do with religion, but there's this Haredi party, so everybody's a Haredi, and everybody, there's הכללות, עושים הכללות, לא רק כלפי הלא יהודים, גם בינינו, טרגדיה שאין כמוהו, אין מה לעשות. יש מה לעשות. לעשות.
Mayor Kalish, you just heard what the gentleman had to say. Please, I would like again to go back to your experience as a mayor of Haifa. Please give me one or two examples of a moment you had to call a certain religious leader, whether a Muslim or a Baha'i or a Jewish or other, to say, I need your help right now, please help me with it.
I have a few examples. One is sitting just in front of me. One of them was there, and another. Actually, I see here so many amazing people, but I will say in a minute. From my experience, I really needed their help. The Sharif's help, Muhammad Sharif, I called. It was, of course, during the events of May, and said, and not only him, all our leaders. I agree.
He didn't pay for the.
So you can ask him. I think it was a difficult day, difficult time. And actually, we said everybody who is willing to help, and I agree with you. We need to make sure that everybody is willing to do his best. And that's a lot. And what happened is that, of course, every leader, and I see everyone as a role model, I cannot speak to all the communities. Nobody will listen to me. But this is exactly Muhammad Sharif and his power, his ability that nobody else has. And he spread some, I think, peaceful air on the communities.
So what you are saying is that whenever you want to address a specific religious community in Haifa, you would sometimes go to the specific leader to deliver the message and not call them by yourself, right?
Not sometimes, all the time. All the time. I think it's natural. I don't think there's no other way. And what happened is that all of a sudden, all of Haifa started calming down. Another thing I would like to say is, in my point of view, and I'm saying that as a secular person, okay? And by the way, there are very many problems between the Jewish Orthodox among themselves also. So when you have various communities, they all have differences.
And they ask you to moderate between them?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Please tell us.
Yes, and I often say, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. It's not in my ability, but I would like to try to say that everybody has a place in our city, in our life. I was part of some event with the government asking me to interfere in religious decisions. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not above and I'm not below. I'm just, and my life is not any better than the life of somebody else. So this is my point of view. We had a big discussion. It was somebody very, high rank in government. And how can that be? You must say your word. And I said, I'm sorry, but you ask me to say that I'm better or my life is better, and it's not. We should not think that anybody here is better than the other. So this is my point of view, and I think that if we all start our journey with this point of view, things will look different. That's my opinion.
Thank you. I would like to go back to you, Mr. Abbas. Last time I saw you was in your village of, sorry, city of Malal. It was after some very bad days after the killing of a Druze security man in the city of Taipei. And I met you there, and you told me, you told our television also, what you had to do as a religious leader inside Malal to make sure that there won't be any conflict between Druze and Muslims, not only inside Malal, but also outside your city, because the tension, because the religious or the interreligious tension. Please tell the audience what you had to do as a religious leader to make sure that things will not get worse.
קודם כל, אתה צריך להיות עם חיישני לחברה, למורכבות של כל אירוע. כמעט כל יום יש מקרה רצח בחברה הערבית, אבל אתה צריך לשים שיש מקרה רצח מיוחד שיכול להשליך את עצמו על מרקם היחסים ביישובים מסוימים או בין יישובים. למשל, כאשר רוצח או נרצח הוא משתי עדות, אז זה יכול לקחת אותך למאבק עדתי. כאשר רוצח ונרצח כאילו מוכחים או ידועים בחברה, והם משתי משפחות או חמולות, אתה צריך לשים לב שהאירוע הוא לא פלילי, הוא במישור החברתי. ולכן אתה שואל את עצמך שאלה, אוקיי, איך אני מטפל באירוע הזה? רק במישור פלילי, משטרה ופרקליטות וכו', או שאני צריך להשלים את התפקיד של רשויות החוק ולעשות עוד צעדים שיעשו תיחום של האירוע. לדוגמה, באותו יום שנרצח הבחור שהוא היה איש אבטחה, אדיר גאנם, מהיישוב שלי, והוא מהעדה הדרוזית, והוא נרצח בדם קר על ידי פושעים בטייבה, במרכאות מוסלמים כמובן. אפשר גם לחשוב האם אני מגדיר אותם ככה או לא, אבל ואז אתה צריך להיות בקשר עם המשפחה, לנחם אותם קודם כל, ליצור מערכת יחסים איך אנחנו מנהלים את זה, מביא את האנשים מטייבה גם לנחם. באותו יום היה חג אל-אדחא וחג אל-פטר אחרי רמדאן, ואז שתי העדות של מראז, הדרוזים והנוצרים, היו אמורים לבוא לברך את העדה המוסלמית חג אל-פטר. ואז קיבלנו החלטה, אנשי הדת המוסלמים, שאנחנו לא עושים את האירוע אצלנו במסגד, כולנו, כל העדות, באות אל בית התנחומים ומנחמים ביחד כל העדות של היישוב את משפחת גאנם על הרצח הזה, ואתה עוד משלים בצעדים, מביא גם אנשים מהיישובים מסביב וגם עוד משלחת לטייבה כדי לנחם וכו'.
זו הייתה החלטה דתית, זה היה צעד של מנהיג דתי, לא החלטה של פוליטיקאי, נכון?
לא, לא. זאת החלטה שלנו בהיותנו אנשי דת ביישוב. תראה, יש המון אנשי פוליטיקה, מנהיגים פוליטיים, אבל רק לאיש דת יש את החיישנים האלו לאבחן שהמקרה הזה יכול להיות עם השלכות עדתיות, או אמרתי גם משפחתיות או אחרות, ואז אתה צריך לתת תשומת לב ומענה ולהיכנס לתמונה ולנהל את האירוע. במקרה שלי אני גם נמצא בתפר הזה בין איש דת, ושגם החברים יבינו מה זה איש דת. אני אימאם במסגד בכפר, וכל יום שישי עולה ומנהל את התפילה ונותן את הדרשה של יום שישי וכו' וכו'. כאילו מתפקד בפועל כאיש דת. אז אני נמצא בצורה מאוד מיוחדת ממש בשני התפקידים, ולכן לפעמים אנשים שואלים, האם הוא עשה את זה בתור איש דת, או עשה את זה בתור איש פוליטיקה שיש לו אינטרס להרגיע, לקבל נקודות זכות בחברה ובקהל הבוחרים. אבל את זה אי אפשר לפתור, כי זה... מה הכוונות שלך? זו שאלה בינך לבין אלוהים.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the three of you. Rabbi Eliezer Weiss, Mayor Einat Kalishotem, Member of Knesset Mansour Abbas. Yes, sir.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Dr. Rotem, Einat Kalish said about between the Jews we have our own problems. I want to tell you a story, it'll take me a minute. A Jew was found on a desert island. He'd been lost there for 20 years. He was suddenly found there, and people asked him, the sailors who found him, said, what did you do 20 years? So he takes them out there, and he shows them this beautiful synagogue that is built. He says, 5 years it took me to build this synagogue. And they were most impressed. And then he said, but what did you do? How did you prepare yourself for the next 15 years? He said, well, I always kept my faith as a Jew. I always. So what did you do? He takes them down a road, and then he shows them down through the forest. There's the most beautiful, 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 beautiful temple, synagogue, which he built. It took me 12 years to build this synagogue. So I said to him, well, what do you need this synagogue for? You've got a synagogue there. He says, oh, that synagogue, I wouldn't go into it if they paid me. You have to have a sense of humor. I think everybody has to have a sense of humor to solve problems between us.
Just one word.
Yes, please.
I would like to say, I think we must be more initiative and less responsive. And we can start building, and I think we are building, at least in Haifa. This is how I see it, but of course it has to be a major task for all of us to build a good community among all of us on the everyday life in order to be able to live in more difficult days and stop just being responsive and start being more initiators. That's how I see our reality at the moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation. We will now have a 10 minutes break. Please enjoy yourselves and come back after 10 minutes. 10 דקות הפסקה. תודה.
حبيبي come to Dubai شكرا حبيبي يا رامي. يعطيك العافية. I was so astonished by what he said. Not only this, I'm sure you will be very interested.
Tell me more.
I will not tell you.
Yeah,
I will make you.
Thank you so much. Today I'm going to visit some other places.
Sorry.
חיפה. That was very interesting. I think like I have to do it again.
Maybe after.
Today, no, I have to go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, don't wait for the ambassador to come because normally they have what do you want? I think you know all that.
Yeah.
Like exactly the Albanian ambassador is around, the French ambassador was here like this, and the Belgium, I'm sure you know. Okay. You know the committee members? Okay. You want to do this?
Yeah, I would be interested. Yeah, I know.
I will introduce you to someone. Oh, sir.
You're on the read letter on for your own.
Okay,
It
sir.
was an experience what you are doing.
Thank you very much. That's really interesting. Are you leaving?
No. How are you?
Good, how are you? Sarah
I'm Alex from Tanzania.
from Tanzania. Wow.
He's the
Okay.
ambassador.
Great.
He's
Great
a
to
very
meet
humble
you.
man. I love him too much. He's my brother.
I've been to your beautiful country many times, so I love it.
She's
Yeah.
from the ambassador. She's the first
Yes.
secretary.
Yes, Dutch embassy. Yes.
And I was telling her about
Yeah,
our
how are you? Yeah, fine, thank you.
Hi. Okay.
So it's from the Dutch
We
embassy.
are still here.
Yes, yes.
Hi, Iman from the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, the assistant of the Amir. Hebrew or English?
Arabic?
Sorry?
Arabic?
Okay. Can I wait?
English is better for me.
Yeah, I think it's better. And Arabic. They are both in one star. Please. Afwan. Nice to meet you. Have you ever been to our center? Basically, we are a community that believes in promoting love for all nations. We exist in Canada. We have had the president even he attended our annual conference. Yeah, 2 times or 3 times. He even attended our exhibition. And I think I will also send you an invitation to the embassy for our annual conference in Haifa. We have a lot of people that come from different countries. Most of them our first conference, so I think it will be very interesting to come. We have a very strong message. I think we have made a video about it. It will be the honoring segment at 7:30. We are reaching out to each and every person. We don't care where you belong to or what color you have, because we believe that even if you are having a common ground with others, 10% of you, it's enough for me associated with go ahead. Because it always starts from the beginning. I always do this with my own work. I started a podcast recently. When I started it, we didn't even have mics. Until today, we don't have mics. We just borrowed mics from our friends because they have special mics. I started it. I So I didn't get very much. I had 10,000 views out of nowhere. I'm not very famous. I had my and when I talk about listening, and most of my viewers are youth, which I never dreamt of. I was so happy because we were talking about good things, how to make things.
I had another event somewhere in
This is how we do it. I actually had some politics students from France this morning. They came to our it's not about stopping at 0%, like it will be 0%. It will never manage, you know. But rather we should join together, do something. I was once at an Arab village. And we talked about idea about religion. And he told me, you know someone from your place, and this person is not that good person. I was so shocked, but then I went home. I was so pissed that I shouldn't blame the person, I should blame myself. I should have reached before him. And then they should have mentioned my name to him, and he will be shy of doing bad things. This is what we should do. We shouldn't always condemn leaders. Have you met Mr. Andre, my brother?
Okay, we would like the audience to get back to the seats. אנחנו מבקשים מהקהל לחזור אל מקומות הישיבה. אנא, מכם, אפשר להביא את האוכל, כבוד הרב, לפה. אנחנו רוצים בבקשה להזדרז, גבירותיי ורבותיי, אנא שובו אל מקומותיכם. Ladies and gentlemen, please come back to your seats. Please be seated. نرجو الجمهور الكريم للعودة إلى المقاعد.
You're so happy to see these good things. Because when you see the good people, you promote it rather than condemning the bad. Other people, you will find a lot of this. You will learn a lot. And it's for learning, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin promptly. Please take your seats. الأمير محمد شريف عودة. أضافة الأمير. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not like to come back because we have so many things to discuss and so many things to talk about. نرجو كرمنا الجمهور الكريم بالذهاب عودة إلى المقاعد.
carpet, yes?
I like red carpet.
Are you sure?
I like solid ground.
You are a very humble person. I will sit down because I don't want them to say that I am very rebellious.
Go ahead.
גבירותיי ורבותיי, בואו בבקשה חזרה, אנחנו ממש רוצים להמשיך בפאנל המעניין, באירוע המעניין הערב, והנה אנחנו מתחילים.
جمال موان داني we need a pardon say yes if these religious leaders are not listening
גבירותיי ורבותיי, אנחנו נתחיל עוד זמן קצר ונבקש מכם להתקרב אלינו.
We're beginning now.
לא, גם בבית המחשבים. אוקיי, שבו.
How are you doing?
Okay, we're now starting the second panel here in the event of religious leaderships in the 21st century facing continuous and emerging challenges. With us, Professor Annabel Herzog from the University of Haifa, scholar of political theory, Dr. David Rothstein, Secretary General of the Baha'i International Community, and Dr. Yael Sternher, the University scholar of American history and peace activist. Ladies and sir, I would like to start with you. If I may, please. בואו, אתם מוזמנים להיכנס חזרה. Okay. In this panel, we're going to talk about notions of religious leadership. Professor Annabel Herzog. The question I'm going to ask right now is for you and also for Dr. David Rothstein. When it comes to the responsibility of a religious leader, what's the first thing you think about?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. I would like to thank Dr. for this great organization. I'm not a politician and I'm not a religious leader, so what I'm going to say is from the outside, from looking at religion from a very theoretical point of view. And I think that religions have one thing in common, and it's not God. God doesn't need religion, as we all know. But religions have something in common, which is a very deep feeling, a very deep concept of hospitality. And by hospitality, I don't mean inviting your good friend for a meal. I mean inviting the strangers, the foreigners, the people who are not part of the community into your community. And I have the feeling that this deep feeling of hospitality is something that we can find in the old texts and in the religious practices. It seems to me that
religions and religious leaders should emphasize that aspect of their religions and of their religious practices in the social framework. And sometimes they do it, most of the time they do it, and sometimes they don't do it. But I think that it's one of, for me, it's the highest responsibility of religious leaders today, which is to teach their communities and our societies to welcome, to open their doors, to open their gates to foreigners, to people who are not part of the communities, they can be people of the same society but outside of their communities, and they can be people from outside our societies, you know, refugees, migrants, people who are not part of the political game. And I think that a very important responsibility of religious leaders would be to be able to teach us to open our doors and our hearts.
Dr. Ross, thank you. Dr. Rossi, I'd like to ask you the same question, not only as a political leader, a leader of the Baha'i community, not only here in Israel, but around the world, but as a religious man, also as someone who is in touch with Baha'i and non-Baha'i communities on a daily basis, including people from inside your community. What is the major responsibility of the religious leader, the way you think it is?
Thank you. I would also like to thank Uri and everyone at the university and Ahmadiyya Center as well for making this event truly historic. For me, the greatest responsibility of a religious leader is to incessantly foster the reality that there is one race, the human race, and every population is interdependent on each other. If that message gets told to every community around the world, we would stop seeing ourselves as us and them. We would just be us. The role of religious leaders throughout history has been tremendous. The majority of the planet looks up to religious leaders. But a fair assessment of how religious leaders have acted throughout history leads us to the conclusion that sometimes religious leaders work opposite to what should be done, fostering a sense of us and that. So I think now we have a globe that we can circumnavigate in one day. You can use all kinds of devices to translate each other's languages. You can eat all kinds of different foods that you've never been exposed to. You see people of different races and speaking different languages. But the reality is, since the human DNA was mapped, that we all share the same DNA. We're all one species. And if religious leaders have any credibility, and I believe they do,